Hell's Paradise Episode 2 was a fight to the death, quite literally. There was a lot of convicts, a lot of people from mass arson to mass murder, and we end with 10 people going on that ship who were criminals, that is. Obviously, each of them have a guard associated with them, so if they do try anything, they're clearly getting their head cut off. But to see Gabimaru truly unhinged, not in a way that he seems like a psychopath like many of the people that were a part of this group. I mean, one dude was literally grinning ear to ear at the thought of getting a pardon so he could start his crimes all over again. Most of these people you don't want having a clean slate. But given what we've seen so far with Gabimaru, I mean, he's got the best argument so far, though he also did rip a guy's throat out with his teeth, and I mean, he had the most brutal of kills, so then again, maybe there's an argument against him. But I love the fact that he's so brutally honest, but he has like this child whimsical nature about him. He literally sat through most of this episode not doing anything, and when he brought up the fact that like, hey, can we just not kill each other? He realized like, alright, well, people are going to try to kill me, I'm going to threaten you, if you attempt to hurt me, I will hurt you, and they didn't back down, and we see the beast that was released, and Sagiri basically crying tears of joy after finally finding her calling. I mean, this show ain't playing, and clearly, if the quality of episodes 1 and 2 of Hell's Paradise is anything to go off of, if the remaining episodes of this season continue at the pace, the structure, the storytelling, the production level, this will be one of the standouts of this year in anime, and I'm really excited for more. We have a full uncut live reaction available on my Patreon to episode 2 of Hell's Paradise if you're interested, so consider supporting if you do want to see that. But let's talk about this one. Something that continues to surprise me, but in a positive way, is that this show, a show like this, is usually more driven by the action than it is the world or character building. But whether it was episode 1 taking its time getting us to know Gabimaru as a person, or this episode getting to know Sagiri as a person before the action pops off, we love watching the crazy action, we love watching the insanity bloodshed take place, but what keeps us there when those moments aren't around is if we care about the characters and world building or the narrative overall. And so far for me, and if I'm going off of my comment section in episode 1, yeah, the show's doing a good job at that. I think seeing a girl who basically in a world like this would normally, why are you trying to follow in your brother's footsteps? Why are you trying to follow in your father's footsteps? You should go home, live in your mansion, and enjoy your life. If we're going off of a realistic time period, yes, there's a more magical element to the show, but if we're trying to make this feel like a realistic time period for this type of world, she would naturally be pushed back against that she's not fit for the job. So I really like how this episode was getting it across and the reflections in the blade. So seeing a man cut down a man who in his dying moments was telling a story, it was such a clean, painless death that he was even able to bow down during his dying moments. And to see her have, at face value, a very clean death, she cuts people, there's hardly any blood, until it obviously hits the ground and then everything starts spraying. But to see the shadows claw at her, or her looking in the reflection of her blade and seeing like almost zombified images trying to haunt her. I really like how this show's production, it just feels perfect for what it's trying to capture, and it's the internal hell that these characters are going through. I mean, one of the most beautifully disturbing deaths I've seen in anime comes from looking at someone who had tumors all over his face and flowers ruptured from his skin. I mean, that has to be one of the worst ways to go, because when you just look at the corpse, you're like, okay, it's alive, but clearly not the same person. Yeah, I mean, there's probably worse ways to go, but when you see it like rupture from his face, I mean, that was disturbing. Like, that has to hurt. I'm interested because clearly some of these characters have been drinking the Kool-Aid. They're talking, here's paradise, it's perfect, you won't be harmed. I mean, these characters are in for a very rude awakening, and I'm interested to see out of the 10 criminals who are on this mission, who's making it out alive, if any will. I mean, I feel like the elixir of life, which is what they're after, I feel like touching it is going to unleash an Indiana Jones booby trap, whether you get cursed with flowers rupturing from your face, or you unleash a plague on the world, I don't know. But something is wrong with this island, whether it's the drinking water, whether it's the booby traps, I don't know. But either way, it'll be interesting. We got some extreme personalities. I mean, the first dude who literally threw down just gave me major psychopath vibes, and you knew he was going to be an entertaining character. but there's literally a guy who looks like he's 15 feet tall, and his sword is probably going to be an entire tree that he rips from the ground up. There is a tall mofo in this show, and I really hope we get to maybe become friends with him. Gabimaru can just chill on his shoulder or something, ride him like a pony, I don't know, but there's some extreme personalities. There's also some personalities that are going to sell some figures, if you know what I mean, wink wink nudge nudge. But overall, the cast seems exciting. It feels extreme. There's normal-ish personalities, but at the same time, you don't get a criminal level like they have without being a little psychotic, so it'll be fun to see what they do. The production was relatively normal this episode up until the action started playing. Before the first criminal got beheaded, I was like, at least 3 people are going to get killed by these guards. It just feels like there's no way you have this many like criminals, if not complete psychopaths in one area, and have them not either try to kill someone or more or less try to escape. First guy goes down and then they turn it into a little battle royale, and I was like, okay, I guess we're gonna have a lot of deaths, but I was really happy when 3 of them tried to jump our girl. Obviously, I didn't get the number quite right, but when I saw at least 4 criminals get cut down by the people guarding them, I was like, okay, my wish was fulfilled. At least 3, but actually 4 ended up getting cut down, and we saw how clean she can cut, but there's still that fear holding her back. It'll be interesting to see how a man like Gabimaru will awaken whatever it is in her that has been lost for so long, or at least holding her down. Though I love how Gabimaru has a line in this episode. After being the most wild boar in a china shop, but bloody it can be, he literally just looks at them and is like, hey, would you prefer I make it pretty? Like, bro, you had me killed. I said I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to do this. You didn't let them back down. What do you expect? A pretty bouquet of flowers as I kill people? Like, get real. And as soon as you see the man who's in charge of this entire operation, or at the very least is observing the shogun or whatever, he just had such a grin, you knew he was a psychopath, so it was really satisfying that by the end of this episode, he felt a little fearful that he maybe needed to change his adult diaper after seeing what Gabimaru just did. And that was pretty fantastic. Like I said, I think this will be one of the standout shows of this year. It just has the right production level. There's a lot of really immersive shots that aren't necessarily the Sakuga-filled moments, but more so just really getting you accustomed and figuring out what a character's feeling from a twitch of an eye, or this like just you feel him tense up a bit. Most of the action in this episode prior to the popping off bloodshed was actually this like really realistic take. It wasn't overly gory. You would see characters' ribs get kicked in and you'd see the bodies tense up and you're like, wow, that hurts. Or a character would be choked to death and then you're like, okay, that actually felt like someone getting choked to death. Yes, by the end, it was more gore-filled and almost like, wow, he's like a monkey jumping around ripping out throats. But I love how the violence and gore never goes overboard, and when it does, it feels like it was done so for a purpose to really show the difference in Gabimaru from the rest, but his personality of being someone who didn't want to do that to begin with really sells him as a more decent guy than the situations that he's being forced into, and I really like that about his character. Between episodes 1 and 2, we really have a good idea of both Sagiri as well as our boy Gabimaru, and we'll see where it goes from here. Thoughts and feelings yourself though down below. Drop a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, ring that bell of course, and like I mentioned, I do have that full live reaction available on my Patreon if you're interested, and while you're there, you can also get a video shout out. So today we have Trekker, Holy, and Brandon Hartlove. So I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care and have a good one.